Welcome back to Reentry, an Orbital simulator. It's been a little while, but we are here and we're completely through the Gemini campaign, and that means one thing. That reason is why we're standing here on Launch Complex 39 to my knowledge. Standing aboard, or above I should say, this beautiful spacecraft right here, the Saturn V and the Apollo spacecraft sitting right there. That's right, it's finally time to dive into the Apollo campaign in this beautiful flight simulator. I've spent maybe a week in the academy learning Apollo and the lunar module, which is longer than it took to learn Gemini by far. And I can't say that I know every single part of this spacecraft, but I feel confident enough to be able to fly it, so we're gonna do just that. So Campaign 3, aptly named The Dark Side of the Moon. Now the moon has never felt closer. The Gemini program has successfully created the technological bridge needed to make the journey to the moon. With the biggest rocket ever built by man, carrying a spacecraft with components of the most advanced technology ever flown, a crew of 3 astronauts, well, it'll just be 1 in our case, will attempt to journey to the moon. To get there, a lot of things still need to go right. The Apollo command module is yet to be tested for manned flight, and the lunar module needed to actually land on the moon is long overdue. Commander Patrick is strapped in and ready with his crew, currently performing a test in preparation for the first manned Apollo flight. Patrick and his crew have been performing a full dress rehearsal all day. The brand new Apollo spacecraft seems to have some issues, and the team is working hard on figuring it out. As backup crew, you and your team will be joining the Launch Control Center to oversee the rehearsal. January 27th, 1967. Roger, let's hope they have solved the issue. Switching to internal comms. Internal comms, how do you read? Still as bad as before. Patrick, I can't hear you. Can't believe are still having issues. Okay, let's switch back to pad comms. Fire! Fire! Get them out of there. Yeah, you guys, I don't know, I guess I was optimistic, and maybe in this reality the crew didn't have to be killed by that fire. 100% oxygen, which is extremely flammable. And the spark lighted that fire. I'm pretty sure it wasn't just the oxygen that was the issue, it was the difference in pressure between being on the pad and being in vacuum. But ever since that fire, they made every single Apollo spacecraft after that much, much safer. Memory of those who lost their lives in the Apollo 1 fire. We will never forget. Back to the campaign screen. A lot was learned from the tragic loss of the first Apollo mission and its crew. The new and improved Block 2 command module is now part of the Apollo spacecraft and is ready at the pad. You are part of the backup crew for the flight and will prepare the cockpit for prime crew Ingress. Alright, so the Apollo command and service module consists of hundreds of systems all working together to bring a crew of 3 to the moon and back safely. To become a great command module commander, it's important to know the layout of the cockpit and to easily find the switch and system you are looking for when needed. These procedures teach exactly that. Take your time. For each checklist, we will use the run feature to proceed with the mission. Use the mission pad checklist as a reference, but MCC will guide you through. Okay, so we're going to be running through a whole bunch of checklists just sitting on the pad. So we won't be actually flying the rocket this episode, but we will be going through basically everything we need to know how to fly the rocket. Although I am in a place where I think I know how to fly the rocket, we'll bring you along with. So let's hit launch. All right, everyone, welcome to the Apollo spacecraft, or as we call it around here, every spacecraft we've had in Reentry, an orbital simulator, was called Aurora, and this one is much the same. Now, here's all of the switches and stuff. We saw the diagram of them before. However, it looks a bit more imposing when you're actually sitting in the capsule, doesn't it? So we're currently lying on our backs on top of a Saturn V rocket in this thing. And our job is to get this spacecraft up and running for the prime crew when they arrive in maybe an hour from now. All right, good morning, N9. We are 3 hours and 10 minutes from launch. Prime crew is scheduled to ingress in about 1 hour. Okay, yeah, so we got an hour to get this thing ready for prime crew to hop in. We have 14 checklists to complete. 13 will be done by you. There's a lot of switches to flip and systems to verify. Roger, let's get this craft set up and ready for prime crew ingress. Before we continue real quick, it's important to let you know that there are actually 2 versions of the following checklists that I'm going through that you can watch. Continue watching this video. There is an 8 times sped up version of the whole thing where I basically talk like this, narrate over what I remember about what I did and what I remember about certain systems that I can talk about, because I did this several days ago and I might have to jostle my memory a little bit. But the reason I did that is because this actually took about 2 hours to complete, and I'm not sure that 2 hours of going through all these switches and systems and procedures would really catch everyone's attention all that much. So we'll do like this for the video, but there'll be a link in the description, I'll put it on the top, for a video where we don't speed up the entire 2-hour backup checklist. And we go through it bit by bit, and you can see live my thought processes, my confusion, my looking for switches on panels, and my probably messing things up, as well as figuring some things out I may not have before. But for the concise version, continue watching this one, and I'll see what I remember. Well, the first thing you'll notice is the Apollo capsule is in a cold and dark state. That means systems are off. The lights are off. The only thing giving us light is, I believe, the white room above us. And that is, of course, connected to us, and we opened the hatch and we were able to stick our head out and see inside there, albeit upside down. That's where the crew is going to be coming from in technically an hour from now, although this ends up taking 2 hours. So at this point, we get to see the guidance computer, I believe called the OBC. I don't remember if that acronym is actually right. It is, as far as the input goes, it's the same sort of keypad as Gemini had. However, this system is far, far superior. It has it's a computer. It's got processing units. It's not it doesn't run off of tape though, which is absolutely fantastic because there is a lot of programs that this computer has to run, and having to wait 5 or 10 minutes for tape like you had to with Gemini would just not have been a good time at all. So we're doing a whole lot of things really quickly here. Essentially, what we're doing as the backup crew is slowly activating a whole bunch of circuit breakers, which are powering systems. They're putting systems online connected to our batteries. I don't think we're running off of the fuel cells immediately. I don't remember. I think the fuel cells get activated later on, if I remember correctly. That might be entirely wrong, but essentially all these systems need to be slowly turned on and checked out. Right now, we're checking out the caution warning system, which will blare alarms, and actually one of the alarms didn't go away for this entire process, and that was the suit compressor alarm. Of course, we're the backup crew, we don't have the spacesuits on, so I think that's to be expected. What we're working on here is the EMS system. I think that's the acronym for it. Yeah, EMS. I don't remember what that stands for. Earth something system. It's something responsible for counting down some delta V. I think you can use it for doing a manual burn, because you can add the delta V, have the engine burn, and it'll count that down. But something else that is really good for, in fact, it's I think primarily used for, is for reentry. It has I don't know, it just sort of draws on the tape as it moves along there. And you saw it for a split second, this whole sheet of different degrees and like entry angles that it'll draw on. And I think we can use that to enter the atmosphere safely or as intended. Whether or not I remember how to, now that's a whole other question. I was confused on some of the things just during the, the checkout phase of the EMS here. But I think that is all complete there. Yeah, it's a backup device and it's used for entry. I just read that there, so that is correct. So the Apollo capsule, it has way more switches than Gemini and Mercury combined. And by extension, it also has a lot more panels than either of them combined. And same with the lunar module, really. But once you learn Apollo, the lunar module it's just familiar. It's cozy, actually. So all these panels, I had to learn where they were, but it was actually not too bad to figure out. So you've got panel 1, 2, and 3. Those are in front of you. Those are the primary panel that's just flat in your face, and there's a whole bunch of things that you can do with those. You've got one on the left, which is, I believe, the commander seat or the pilot seat. I think the middle seat is the commander seat. I'm not remembering entirely. But the one on the left is responsible for the transposition and docking. You've got RCS controls. You've got how the vehicle is being commanded. You've got a guidance computer. On the center panel, which is number 2, you've got a whole bunch of gauges and things. I'm trying to jostle my memory on what that one is specifically for. I know on the bottom right, you've got communications. You've got, there we go. Those are all the RCS thrusters. That's primarily what number 2 is, activating the heaters and the flow of all like 16 RCS thrusters that I think it has access to on both the service module and the command module. On panel 3 on the right-hand side, that's the lunar module pilot seat. You have access to power systems and communication systems, as well as I think the tape recorder and various other things. There's different gauges for monitoring systems and levels and pressures and temperatures on all of the panels there. On either side, you've got mostly circuit breakers, but also some other switches and things. Now, something that is unique to Apollo is all of the switches and the panels that are on the walls on either side, that are on the roof, not the roof, sorry, the floor underneath you. And luckily there isn't too many, but I still get a little bit confused sometimes looking for certain numbers that you don't really see all that much, like the 300s or the 200s. But luckily there is a simple way of finding those as well. So you've got the 300s, the 200s, the 100s. The 100s are on the floor. The 300s are on the left wall, and the 200s are on the right wall. So anytime it references that, and it's something that you only see like once or twice, well, vague sort of area where you can look to find whatever switch that you're supposed to look for. At this point, we have the lights on and everything. I don't remember what checklist that we're going through right now. I think we're double checking some sort of systems. You can see me. There's also switches in the tunnel here that I think I was struggling to find. That sounds about right, to be honest. That's right. There's also the tunnel, and there's tunnel switches like 360 degrees technically. 304. That's a water valve that likes to hide on me too. ECS valve checks. I remember these 301, 302, and 303. I struggled to find those a lot, and me moving the flashlight around like that was like me being like, oh, there they are. I had no idea. Okay, so things that are going to be familiar to the Gemini. You've got the mission timer, of course, but you've got the event timer again, which is something that was added. I don't remember. Did Mercury have an event timer? It's been so long that I genuinely don't remember. Something I think that we're going to be doing soon, I don't recall, is that we're going to be turning on the integral lighting, which is like the blue backlight on all of the switches, labels, and things all around the cockpit, and the lunar module has this too. I really like turning this up and turning the interior lighting down because it makes it more of a cozy atmosphere, I think. Something I guess I didn't mention before you can do is you can completely stow the seats, so we're just kind of standing in this this cockpit, which is probably a bit interesting because we're technically, standing sideways according to the camera view, so we'd be lying on our back. Maybe squatting? I actually don't know if the backup crew would technically stow the seats during this process based on the orientation of the spacecraft. Maybe they asked the flight director and everyone involved to tilt the entire Saturn V 90 degrees so they can, stand up on the floor and do this. We'll pretend that we do that. We've entirely tilted the Saturn V rocket so that we can stand up here. That works. And I mentioned the integral lighting, that the circuit breakers we're closing right now. We just activated all the blue lighting, so you can see for yourself. I think it looks rather nice. I don't remember if I adjust the lighting settings at all, but yeah, there is just so many. Here, there's actually a few switches on the ceiling as well that are involved with cabin repress and things, which I don't really think that we will need to use during campaign missions all that much, other than making sure it's set up in the proper configuration. Because the thing is, there isn't an EVA in Apollo. I don't think that's involved. I know you can EVA by depressurizing the cabin and opening the hatch and hitting EVA with the C menu in Gemini, but I don't think that is something that you can do in the Apollo capsule, at least in the simulator. In real life, I'm pretty sure Apollo did do an EVA, although I couldn't tell you what mission that was or where it was. I almost want to say it was around the moon. Someone will have to verify that in the comments below because I don't recall. This part was probably the most fun I had because it was basically telling me, okay, on this panel, close all of the circuit breakers, except like 4 of them. So I got to go by and just like spam click all of the circuit breakers closed, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. You can see here, I keep the camera a little bit steady so you can see a little bit better. You have thrust control and gimbal motor control. You have these thumb switches for attitude, roll, pitch, and yaw. To be honest, the checklists rarely have me interact with them, and I have absolutely no idea what they're there for. I don't know what they technically do. I don't know if they're an attitude selector for a backup guidance system. To be honest, I don't remember everything, and I actually have not gone and read all of the manuals for these spacecraft. I've gone through the academy, and I have taken the exam for both the Apollo capsule and the lunar module. So again, I feel very confident that I can actually fly the things, but I don't know the systems by heart. I don't know them in and out, so there's probably going to be some struggling here. The checklists we're currently working on are the longest in the backup segment. And you see we're already 20 minutes behind because I wasn't taking my time. I was taking my time. I wasn't doing what the mission script intended me to. The mission script intended me to hit run, and then it would one by one highlight what switch to press, and I would just mindlessly press them all because that's how I operate when someone is like just telling me what to do. No, instead, I decided only to hit the run function after I was completely through the checklist, or if I was struggling too much to find something. And I think that we did a good job. There was possibly something that I may have missed, but I don't think I did. I think pretty much we did a good job of getting all of this set correctly. Here we have another fun part. This is the right-hand side, close all of the circuit breakers, which is just going to be fun. Honestly, it's kind of fun to watch too. So I just go by and flip everything. Although I had to verify that I knew what ones are supposed to be off before I just went and spam clicked them all, because I wouldn't want to close some things that aren't supposed to be. But yeah, as mentioned, this checklist and the one before it are the left hand and right hand couch checks, which have you activate all of this. It's the longest process because you're going through quite literally every single switch on the main panels. But it really familiarizes you with the capsule. So after you do the Academy, which the Academy sort of does... Okay, there's another reason why I think that not using the run checklist or the run feature by default is good for learning this capsule, is that the Academy already had you just do that. So during the Academy, you don't have a choice. It'll highlight the buttons that you have to switch, and it just told you to do it all, and then like vague explanations, and then more in-depth explanations afterwards, but still sort of putting you through it. But I think that it would sort of be the same thing. It just gets into my head a little bit better if I have to do it myself and I have to struggle with things. And actually, if I struggle with things, it sticks, you know? If I'm really struggling to find one specific switch that otherwise would have been a no-brainer if it was highlighted and told for me, it sticks. Like, I think I actually streamed the entire Academy, by the way. I don't know if Twitch still has the videos up because it deletes it every 2 weeks, and I don't remember to highlight them all, or for whatever reason I choose not to highlight them all. But during the Academy, I spent quite a long time. I think there was 2 like 7 or 9 hour streams, and then actually maybe a third because I did the lunar module as well. But during the stream, just you guys saw me live struggle with some of these switches. Sometimes it told me something, and I would sit there for 20 minutes refusing to skip it because trying to figure out what it was. And actually during the exam, there were certain things that it didn't tell you in depth right away. It went a little bit more in depth later on, but it didn't tell me in depth right away. So I would sit there and make sure that I knew what I was doing with every single switch that I switched. And doing that rather than just flipping it and moving on is another crucial part in adding this entire capsule to my memory banks. Now, I don't know how successful we're going to be in the campaign. The Apollo spacecraft is supposed to be flown by 3 people. The lunar module is supposed to be flown by 2 people. And these people are highly trained individuals that know the spacecraft in and out, have been training for months, if not years, in simulators, in studies, in books. And then there's me, a pizza delivery guy and YouTuber and streamer who's spent all in all less than a week in both of these spacecraft. And with that amount of time, and with my amount of know-how, I'm bound to mess something up, right? But that just adds to the fun. We'll try my best, but no promises. Oh, something cool about this that is not in Gemini or Mercury. It's kind of in Mercury. There's like an optical, I don't know what it's called. There's an eyepiece on the floor here that lets you look at stars, and there is a IMU alignment checklist, which is quite fun. It has you look at 2 stars as you mark them specifically with these eyepieces, and that will align your gyros, align your FDAI. In Mercury, it's kind of reminiscent of Mercury, but way more advanced. For Mercury, you had this periscope on like right in front of your face that you could use to view the Earth and things. You could zoom in. It wasn't really used for looking at stars, to my knowledge, though. So that is very cool. All in all, I guess my summary of this, after we have spent 2 hours and we're an hour late for Prime Crew Ingress, is that the Apollo capsule is so much fun, and I am so excited to actually fly it next episode. So that's the concise version. Again, the long version should be in another video, but we got through it all. All right, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Peace out.